Kia ora and welcome to Tarmac. I'm Dave.
I'm Matthew, and somebody recognized me this week, so that means I'm a familiar face, at least I think so. Just like this, it's a Volkswagen Tiguan, but not as you know it.
Yeah, unlike this non-celebrity here, this has got plenty of stuff going on. This is the granddaddy of the new 3 Rs that are coming out as far as the R line, not R lines, we'll get to that in a minute, but the new Volkswagen Rs that are out there. This is the Tiguan R. It's a beastie of a SUV, and it's all Rs for a weekend. Come, let's take a look at this. So as with many other car brands right now, they are extending, or Volkswagen are now extending out their performance arm, which is basically the R. Now it used to just be the Golf R, well actually it used to be the Golf R, then the Sirocco R. Now we're basically going to have the Tiguan R, the Golf R and the T-Roc R. So there's lots coming on, and this one obviously right now is the granddaddy of them, which is not really a granddaddy, it's quite a young pup, but this one is the Tiguan R, and it's a beauty. I have actually had this on the track, so I am very biased right now, but we'll get to the performance bits in a while. Let's have a quick walk around it. So up front you've got, for those, and I'm going to steal a little bit of Matthew's thunder here, but the R line, which is, this is not to be mistaken for, does have a lot of these R features, but essentially the R grille with the R badge. You've got the blackened out lower valance here, but the big thing for us is the fact that there is wind flow going through here, so actually does get a lot of airflow through to the 3 radiators in front, so lots going on from there. Obviously the big VW badging from there, and we're lucky to have a Tiguan or a Tiguan number plate, so lots going on as far as you can see from there, including this lower spoiler. Just before we do head round the side, I want to point out here IQ lights. So these are basically matrix headlights, and so can black out things as you go through, and also the indicators are directional. They sort of come around these LED or DRLs around the side here, so lots going on when you get to the front. Looking a bit further down here, we've got these 21-inch feet, which are Estoril feet, so very machine finished and very highly polished and great from there. And also some nice 2 pop brakes, I think they are on the front here. I will double check that, but I'm pretty sure there is. Anyway, looking a little bit further around here, we've got this color, which is lapis blue. It's brilliant. It's so good in this sunlight and really stands out. Honestly, I think this is the color I would go for, and I think you should too. And some R badging, but again, those that have got the R line will have probably have these, but Matthew's going to cover that. It's something part of his pet hates, but we'll get for that further on. And looking down, look, plenty of room, plenty of stuff. This is a Tiguan through and through. At the back here, we've got a nice roofline spoiler, which helps this be as efficient as it can, and also got that sporty look about it. You've got the R badging here, again, new for this one. You've got directional tail lights, they're LEDs. We'll show you that when I do this, which is the kicker tailgate. Look at that. Opens up to 615 litres of boot space in here, so plenty of stuff for whatever you need to carry around in this 5-seater. And the pièce de la résistance, aside from this blackened out or piano black diffuser, are the quad exhaust, and these are actually proper exhausts that do locate or are connected directly to what's under the bonnet. So let's go there. For some reason, somebody's taken the engine cover off for us. I guess that's just so we can see it a little bit better. So what we have here is a 2-litre turboed engine that gives you 235 kilowatts and 400 newton meters of torque. That's a lot of torque. Basically, it does 0 to 100 in 4.8 seconds, which will basically make quite a lot of hot hatches or supercars actually look a little bit embarrassed. And also, when it comes to efficiency, it's 9.7 litres per 100, and out of those quad exhausts, is around about 200 grams per kilometre. So it doesn't really attract the rebate. Actually, it does attract a fee, but this vehicle is so worth it, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. It's also strapped to a 7-speed DSG, so which is honestly, when we get this moving, we'll show you, is amazing. Speaking of things that should be strapped to a 7-speed DSG, Matthew's inside and he'll show you what's going on with there.
Speaking of gearing, well, I might as well get started with that. So, as you can see there, I can't tell you how happy I am to actually see a proper physical gear shifter there for once, instead of those little stubby things that VW Group manufacturers put in their car. Gear shifter, good. and it actually allows you to move into drive and sport, and then also control the gears manually just from the shifter alone. So it is really useful altogether. In terms of things that are useful, well, it's got Napa leather R seats with a bit of light bolstering around and some fake carbon fiber patterns on it. A good bit of blue tubing and the blue R badge as well. Well, the theme of this car is blue, not just in the color, the lap is blue, but also on the inside. All the stitching on there, on the doors, the highlights on the chairs, the lighting, all of that stuff is blue. It's very much the color of the R brand, if you like. In terms of materials, well, the dashboard gets soft plastic up there. It gets this sort of patterned plastic trim over here, which is actually identical to what's on the R line, but don't get me started on that. Spaces, well, it is a family SUV at the end of the day, so you do get good door pockets. You get 2 cup holders here. I guess a little bit of space for your key in the middle. Whoops, wrong one. Space for your phone there, but note that there is no wireless charger, so I guess a little bit of a minus there, but so far the only one we can seem to find at least. It's got a double sunroof on the top, and it's got VW's new infamous touch capacitive controls for your air conditioning and then also partly for your infotainment screen. So let's take a look at that. So first, let's go home. Well, the home screen, as you can see here, plenty of information around, and look, all the menus just popped up as well. When I move my hand close by, just like that, there you go. So what have we got here? We got the navigation, the audio, good tune by the way. And then when you swipe through, you get a little bit more about what you're listening to. Now if I return to the home screen and go into menu, well, there's plenty of stuff to play around with here, but really the thing that you want to have a look at is vehicle. So once you're in there, it gives you heaps of metrics in terms of your tire pressures and vehicle status and tire pressures again. But the cool thing is that little thing that says sport there. Now this is your performance meter. So right now we've got your G-forces, the turbo pressure in bar, and then also the engine temperature, the oil temperature. And you can actually flick through the gauges by pressing these arrows up and down and moving them around. The cool thing is that when you actually move down to the middle, there's a button there that allows you to change the mode of the car as well. So if I flick through, I can have off-road, I can have off-road expert, or I can go back to the DCC mode and choose race, which is really the one that you want to be in all times. Speaking of things that are racy, let's take a look at the gauges. So the gauges themselves, as you can see outlined in blue there for that special R color, there is your speed on the right, revs on the left, and then gearing and all that stuff. So there's a pretty analog style layout to it, which is quite nice actually in the way it looks. And then it has actually proper gauges for your fuel and your temperature on either side of the dashboard. The other cool thing is, as you can see, the elephant in the room rather, is that lap timer in the middle. I mean, look at that, a lap timer in a Tiguan. Who would have thought, right? If you don't want the lap timer, if you're going on a school run, for example, and you don't want to time it, well, you can flick through and have a look at the consumption and your space on the road, navigation, audio, and you can just keep going. There's so much to play around with on the screen in front of you. The steering wheel itself, well, it's a nice chunky leather unit, thumb grips, flat bottom, exactly what you would expect from an R car. And what I do really love about this steering is these big paddle shifters. They are plastic, you can't have everything, but look, they're nice and big and they move with the steering wheel. So you've always got the gearing or a gear change opportunity when you need it. These buttons are VW's touch capacitive buttons, which I'm not the biggest fan of. However, well, emphasis on the R there, is look at that little blue R over there, and if you press that, that takes the car into race mode, or R mode if you like, and that tunes up everything, makes the exhaust louder. But why am I telling you all of this? The best way to show you is in driving, so let's go and do that.
Okay, before we go any further, just probably need to do the launch control because I know how much Matthew really enjoys that. So what you do is engage, as you can hear the note change there, race mode. Take the traction control off, which is one little touch. Left foot on the brake, right foot on the accelerator. Let it raise up and away and just let go. Love it. This is a family SUV that goes 0 to 100 in 4.8 seconds. Ah, what fun. I can hear my son vomiting already right now. Before we go any further on this though, I just want to let Matthew vent about his R-Line experience. Go on.
Alright, finally, here it goes. So, I drove the Volkswagen Tiguan R-Line a few weeks ago, and to me, the R and the R-Line are virtually indistinguishable, and forget about the average person as well. And I think that sort of makes the R brand feel a little less special, because you want your performance car not only to be quick and loud and all that stuff, but you also want it to look dramatic or more stylish than the regular car. But if it doesn't stand out all that much, then what's the point?
What's the point? I love it. Yeah, you have something correct on the fact that yes, there are a lot of R badges in the R line. Otherwise, but then what else are you going to call it if it wasn't that? And yes, they are sort of diluting the R nameplate by doing that. But then, if you are a little bit of a connoisseur, which I know you are, you look a bit further, you see that the R line has the bits, but they're just not quite performance orientated. So the front vents are vents, the exhaust to the quad exhaust pipes are quad exhaust pipes, so they're not sort of fake, they're not there to look appealing. But I think we'll disagree or agree to disagree, even though I'm right. But then your R line doesn't do this. And zoom around and go fast and hug the corners like there is no tomorrow, or long lost friends, and go, I haven't seen you for such a long time, I want to go into the corners with you. It does. Fabulous.
It's actually something that I remarked about in my review of the R-Line, was how well it handles, and obviously that setup has just been tweaked for the proper R model, the full fat model, and I mean, the way it goes around corners is just crazy.
It is. I've had this on the track, as some of you would know, and honestly, this picks up so fast. The performance of it is great off the mark, but as with everything, power and performance don't necessarily go hand in hand, whereas this one really does. It loves corners and just sticks to them like brown stuff to blankets. It's brilliant.
I mean, who would have thought a hot Tiguan would be firstly a real thing at some point, and then also that it would be this good?
Yeah, and also, well, the fact that it is, I mean, you can drive it like a regular Tiguan. I took my son and a couple of his friends to football today, and they had room back there. It was just fine. It would, nobody spilt their coffees or anything. I just couldn't wait to get rid of them, really, and then drive properly.
See, hence the reason why it's got all the safety technology and stuff like that. But then, once you're done with the family duties, you can turn on the lap timer and go for a blast.
And it will just excite you on the way through. Look, but like you said, visibility-wise, I mean, there's tons. You can see all around, even from the back is great. But on the whole, this thing will park itself. It will beep when it needs to beep and just keep you very, very safe. And also, as Matthew showed you, will go off-road as well.
It's even got a pro off-road mode, so that four-wheel drive system is not just for putting rubber down to the track, it's also for, muddy purposes.
Although I don't know, these little slivers of rubber are going to go too far off-road without just spinning wheels, but this will spin wheels. Oh, great. The downside for me when it comes to performance are these seats. They're good, but they're not great for when I think the vehicle exceeds the side bolsters, so therefore I think you do tend to slip around a little bit when you are really pushing this vehicle into the corners in the way that this car or SUV can go into corners. There you go.
And it does actually, I've seen in other markets, have R performance seats with bigger bolsters and integrated headrests and stuff like that. So that option is there, and probably the one we choose, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Top tip. The other thing is your sounds.
Exactly. It's got a Harman Kardon audio system. I've counted about 9 speakers so far. There's possibly more, but what I do know is it sounds really good.
It does. I love turning up my 80s music and just blasting it out. Another reason for the kids not to be in the car.
Just as well I listen to that music too.
Nice. So there you have it, the Tiguan R, the biggest one of the current R trio, and that sounds like a band or something like that. Look, it's big, it's bold, or reasonably big and bold. It sticks to the road like you would not believe. And also the gearbox, that DSG is just the sweetest thing, especially when you're using the paddles to go up and down in manual. It's a phenomenal machine, and I really beg you, if you're going to buy this, go and take it onto the track, because it will surprise you. I've called it a sleeper at some point, but it doesn't really look like a sleeper, but it's just going to really turn heads.
I did have my doubts, honestly, about the Tiguan R, about how R could it be, but it's proved me wrong, I think, in every way. It feels great to drive, the noise is good too, and it just picks up like you wouldn't believe. Also, you wouldn't believe how many times Dave has said he's taken this onto the track, and if I had $1, I could probably buy one of these too.
Yeah. Let's go to the track. See you next time.